Do you want to kind of introduce yourself to the folks in chat who may not be aware of the work that you've been doing on behind the scenes in the Genji universe?
Mm-hmm. So I'm a top 500 Genji main that plays on high latency, which is quite rare, right? And I think that gives me a very unique perspective on the character as far as how he plays. A lot of people think that he is a very mechanical character, and I lean more to the game sense kind of stuff, using my brain to outsmart my opponents and put myself in good situations.
Okay, makes sense. I mean, maybe that's something that's obviously you have your ping differential that you have to deal with, but even if we're playing on low ping, maybe not everybody has the mechanics to accomplish what they need to accomplish. So if we all want to be Genji mains, regardless of our mechanical capability, you might have some advice for us. So
the big thing that I feel like most Genji players do wrong is not implementing pathing into their gameplay.
Okay,
because Genji is a character. He can poke at range and he can shoot close range, brawl there, right? He's very flexible. And
right.
I feel like that ends up being a trap a lot of the times because he can flow so well between playing passive, let's quote unquote, and aggressive, right?
Right.
But if the problem with him compared to, let's say, Tracer or Reaper, right, characters that often get compared to him, is that Tracer goes in after triple blinking or something, right? She commits the cooldowns. If she misses the kill, if she misses her value, she just recalls out. Reaper, it has Wraith form. Genji, if he commits the dash in, unless he plans the escape path, he needs that kill to get out. And that's where pathing comes in, right? So instead of me having to dash into an engagement, I walk around, I think about how I'm gonna approach. So maybe I hide on low ground, I wall climb, and then I'm in front of my enemies, right? I can fight them there, and if I don't get the kill, if I mess up my engagement, I just dash out because I didn't commit my dash to get in.
Right. It's a lot like Winston. If I can avoid using my jump on an engage, it's an optimal engage, but obviously that takes some brains to figure out how to do that properly.
So here I would say that something that is very common is to see Genji players just, okay, let me poke the enemy team on the higher ground, right? Do some damage, and then maybe, this Ashe might be a little bit too close, right? Let me try to engage. And if they don't get a proper engagement, I mean, maybe you can fall back, but this is because we're at the very edge, right? But let's say that we're doing a longer engagement, like in this Widow. If I try to go for the combo, I missed the combo. The back kills the Widow. Well, I can't run away. It's too far away from my team. My team is probably going to be here, unless I'm coordinating a dive with my team. But if I'm solo playing this and I miss the mechanics, I'm dead here. While if we think about implementing pathing, right, let's go back all the way, maybe I do start poking here a little bit. But maybe when the payload moves up and my team starts taking the attention of the enemy team, maybe I sneak around. And maybe even if they know, now they have to keep me on the back of their minds, like any other flanker, right? And then maybe I wait for my team to try to engage or something, but then I always have this strat. And even if they know I'm here, I can just walk. If I don't get checked immediately, I do this. And once I'm in this position, if I fuck up mechanically, I'm choking, dash out. I'm good.
Right. Okay. So you're basically thinking about taking angles or flanks that you can, paying it like step one, take an angle or a flank where you can access the targets without having to use dash. Step number two, you're waiting for your backline to peek. Even if they're not diving with you, like you said, you're waiting for them to peek it and distract the enemy team a little bit, right? And then number three, you go in for your engage. If you don't get it, you have your dashes or your get out of jail free card. Am I getting that order right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is very important because a lot of people would like to say, oh no, Genji's risk to reward ratio is really bad, right? And it might be, but you can mostly remove the risk in maps that give you the opportunity like this one. It's not all maps, like sniper maps, Junkertown, Circuit Royale, stuff like that, can be very hard. But that's where we start to implement other things, which is like the flow of his cooldowns, right?
Right.
So we talked about at the start trying to go for a combo here on the Ashe, right?
Yes.
I mean, this Ashe has a lot of HP because I made it so I deal very little damage with the workshop.
Right.
But this would have killed probably, right?
Sure.
And even if it doesn't, I deflect, I quickly drop here. So maybe even if I can't do those types of plays, I can just do this type of stuff where I'm just rotating, being annoying. Okay, wait for my deflect. I can maybe stay up there a little bit more. Maybe just chill for a bit, stabilize with my team main.
Yeah.
I come back here when I have dash. I do another rotation. I'm just annoying, right? I
Right.
don't have to always set up the same type of play on the Widow because that is a lengthy play. I have
Sure.
to walk all the way through depending on the path, right?
Okay.
To reach there. Unless it's something that's very worth it.
Sure. So you're thinking if I don't always have to go for these longer, more aggressive plays. If I see a little of pathing or a flank that I can take, that's lower risk, lower reward, but I can do it more frequently.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it also depends on the stage of the fight, right? Let's say my team is just now in the corner of the payload.
Yes.
They probably can't aid me down back here. So maybe I can look for an assassination there, but it's less likely. Now, if my team is starting to get over here, that's more in the area where the enemy is still pressured to start taking a fight and stopping points, right? That's more the place where I can go on the backline, and that's going to be more worth it. So while the payload is in the corner, I can just go over here and just pressure them out, help my team, while being very annoying to the enemy team.
Right. Okay. So it was interesting what you were saying about like the risk reward ratio with Genji. I think that makes total sense. Where you're saying basically like a lot of people complain that Genji's not that good, and yeah, he's not that good. However, a lot of the complaints just comes from people victimizing themselves and complaining instead of like actually using their brains, like you're saying, to find ways of making things work out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, interesting.
I play one of the worst characters at a high latency, and I still make him work at a top 500 level, right?
Makes sense. It's kind of funny because like Genji mains are always making fun of the support mains, but for complaining, but they're just as bad when it comes to making excuses.
Even worse a lot of the times. And we're gonna see that when we move over to like blading and stuff.
I'm excited. Okay, I'm excited. Okay. So this all makes sense. So this is all about pathing, is just taking angles or flanks where you can set up on backline, high risk, high reward, low risk, low reward, but ultimately trying to maintain your cooldown so that you don't have to. If I don't get it, I can still get out. So it's high risk, or maybe not as high of a risk, high reward. It's more of like a medium risk, high reward. Now I have a question for you personally. So how do you adjust this play style if those flanks are contested? So like let's say you go for that little flank there, and like let's say there's a Tracer, there's a Cassidy shooting at you or marking you or trying to like stop you from flanking. What do you do then?
It depends. Sometimes I will try to take the duel if I think it's worth it, but let's say the Tracer is taking the duel and she's assisted by the Zen here on the off angle. Then I'm just gonna be like, yeah, no, screw it. I can't do this unless I just like ego duel the Zen and I just boom, he's dead. Right. Maybe sometimes it just boils down to mechanics and ego and going for stuff that might not seem the smartest. That's something that I personally struggle with the most as far as my gameplay, and that's where I want to improve the most. Sure. I feel like a lot of the times I try to play too smart.
I see what you're saying. Okay, here's a question for you as well. In a situation that you just described there, would you just be able to take another flank? I mean, I guess Route 66ers aren't not a lot of other flanks, but like if, for example, if they're like hard marking you on like one flank, are there other options? I mean, I guess there would be other options. Yeah, is this too greedy?
I mean, I can try to look. Let's say that I'm here, right? Yeah. I swap from the flank to main, so now I don't get to go over that path to maybe hit the backline, but I can still see if they play over aggressive and look for a combo. And if they don't, I can just play under. And playing under in this situation gives me a lot of options. I can pick here on the left side. I can pick main, but I can pick main all over this high ground, right?
Right.
I can even go right side here.
Right. So it doesn't have to be that one sightline or that one play. There's other plays that kind of set up from there. Okay, makes sense.
But it depends on the map, yeah.
Sure.
And if the map is bad, if the map doesn't really allow for this kind of stuff, then that's where you just have to do more of these. Okay, I'm gonna rotate my cooldowns smartly, right? I don't want to really be caught without both cooldowns, right?
Sure.
If let's say I'm transitioning between one place to the other. Let's say if I just came main here, I want to be here either with deflect or dash. I don't think they're gonna, in this specific case, drop and kill me, but usually in these types of rotations where I'm doing it alone and my team might only be able to support me from long range, I want to have one of the two cooldowns to be able to fight someone if they drop, right?
Okay, makes sense.
Alrighty. So in this first example, and this is something that I try to do a lot, use map geometry. Boom. I got the opportunity here on this Mercy because one, I'm in a good position to follow up on her, but I also see my Cassidy shoot her, right? And maybe the opportunity isn't the Mercy, but I can drop on the high ground that the opponents are holding, right? We're trying to retake into them, so they're probably going to be holding the bridge. And I can get there, the idea behind pathing, right? I get there full HP with my dash, with my deflect, right? I have full resources, I'm not committed. So I can do whatever I want. I can either commit to the play if I feel like I'm winning, or I can get out if I feel like I'm losing.
Right, so every angle that you take, every play that you take, is you're trying to get to that position with full resources whenever you possibly can.
If possible, yeah. Okay. And it can also be assassinations like this. This is just, the BEP has no idea I'm here, because I had a really good timing there on the wall climb to go over the roof, and then that's it. That's the team fight, most likely.
Okay.
Same thing here with Junkertown. And you're gonna see me waiting a bit because I'm doing this at the very start, so you can see the payload is very close still. I'm waiting for my team to push up a little bit more, so that the attention of the enemies, maybe they forget about me if they heard me.
So you're saying about we want to take a fight where like there's actual high ground and stuff, and I don't have to like chase a Widow literally all the way across the map. Oof. That was like the element of surprise there. You time that when she's distracted, pocketing something, and then you go in right off of that. Okay, makes sense.
And one good way to judge if areas are like good or bad for Genji is just dash distance. Can you rotate from one place to the other that is like good cover with one dash? If it's bigger than a dash distance, then it starts to become awkward. That's why the sniper maps are so bad for Genji, because there are very little rotations that Genji can actually do that are safe. This is interesting because a lot of people ask about how to play Genji on defense, right?
Sure.
And defense is basically just a cheat to pathing, because you get to pre-set up. You don't have to look for that setup yourself. You don't have to fight for it. You don't have to spend time.
So you start on the flank. You don't even have to path to it. You're already there at the start of the round.
Yeah, and I don't always start on the flank. This time I did, but a lot of the times I play statue, right? And if I play on the statue, then I'm just going to wait for them to maybe push points, and then I'm on the back line with hopefully full resources, right? Because I'm trying to hide from them as much as possible, and I'm being annoying. If they force me out, then I get out, but I tried at least to be doing that thing. It's the same thing with the attack, and if I, let's say, mess up, I get back, right? And in this case, there's a juicy nade, and boom, that's it. That's the back line.
Nice. Okay.
And now here, two Blade clips, and Blade I feel like is very interesting, because Blade is not something that Genji players value very much without damage boost. I feel like the perception that the community has compared to Genji mains, as far as the power level of Blade, is very, very different.
That's a good point. That's a good point. So it's like the Genji mains feel like it's worse than the rest of the community feels like.
And that goes also to like the damage that you deal with the shurikens, but to a lesser extent, I would say.
Okay. Why do you think there's that discrepancy?
I would say because...
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, there are two things I would say. One is like the fantasy of, let's say, playing like Necros, right? Necros inspired so many players to try to be the fastest Genji, right? And then there's always those clips with damage boost with nano, usually, right? Those are the things that make Genji's life easier. So they see that and they try to do it, but because they haven't been taught how to actually do those things, right? What is the process behind actually getting those plays? A lot of the times it's just like, okay, I'm going to dash up and I'm going to 1v5.
Yeah.
And when they don't have those things enabling them, what do? They don't know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So here, yes, I'm going to get a nano. But you can see that I'm wall climbing, and look at this. Boom. The slip just goes right under me. So then it's toast. And that's a team fight. Just because I did one wall climb to bait the sleep.
Right.
It's another really interesting thing.
Suzu and sleep dart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of Genjis would have just instantly dashed in, gone in, taken the nades, the Kiriko would have peeled with Suzu, then the Genji would have just been screwed up. He would die without getting value. But just because I do this, I just AFK. I'm just deflecting with Blade, and I wait for them to panic. Boom, there is the nade, there is the Suzu, there is the Kiriko TP as well. There is the sleep. And now I dash in. So now these are 2 free kills.
So what you were saying is like people will watch somebody like Necros and they're like, oh, I want to be like that, I want to be like that, but then they end up just kind of like skipping steps, right? They try to just like zoom, go to the full speed stuff, but they don't really know how do you get to that level as Genji. Like what skills do you need to master? What are the things that you need to be practicing? Like you're saying, the staging, the timing of when you're going in, being patient for cooldowns, using your wall climb to avoid those cooldowns in the first place. And so it's like building those skills is how you get to that level, obviously.
Right? So here, where's my team? My team is still back on bridge, right? But I can do this because I properly set up. I'm close enough to the enemy where I can close the gap, and I know I can outplay her cooldowns. I'm gonna be hiding behind the wall in case of the sleep during the animation of the pulling out blade, so that I cannot get slapped in that vulnerable state. And that also doubled as a sleep bait. But if she didn't use sleep, I can just walk up with deflect and mind game her. And from there we go, right? The scary thing would be if she was very patient with the sleep. But even then, it's still a skill shot that she has to hit. I'm gonna have tried everything that I can to make the setup. And also in this situation, I'm kind of forced to do this because it's hard for my team to walk through. So I kind of have to go alone if my team doesn't have the mobility to help me, right?
Right. Because they're kind of stuck in the choke. So you're like, okay, I know this is a high risk play. This is why I have to outplay the sleep dart. But my team's stuck in the choke here, so I'm going to create an opportunity. Okay. But most of the time, you would prefer to not be the first guy going in, even with a nanoblade?
Yeah. Okay. Because something like Nade instantly screws me over if I don't have Kiriko.
Yeah, true. Okay. Makes sense. So it's all about like not forcing the 5v1 all the time, looking for opportunities, being patient, looking for when I can see a kill, whether that's 1 kill or 5 kills, just being patient for the opportunity and being decisive. Okay.
One thing that comes from all of this thinking is that it makes playing the game harder unless you're like, you have become so used to the character like I did, so that you don't really need to think about those mechanical aspects as much.
Right. So you're saying like a lot of this thinking stuff can be a little bit like just overwhelming, but ultimately like the goal is to try and automate some of your systems, when it comes to mechanics, so that you can focus on thinking, even if it does slow you down. Like, well, the goal is to automate a lot of this stuff. Okay.
Because you can't just think about everything. You're just gonna overload.
Right.
Ideally, you think about things before the fight, right? You just want to fight. Okay, what ultimates do they use? What is the plan for the next fight? How do I set up? You think that before, so that in the moment you're just like, okay, you just completely focus. I need to outplay the sleep, and you're thinking about that. You have your finger ready to press deflect, for example.
But you were thinking about it ahead of time, and then you built that habit of thinking about it. You just, like you say, you just feel what you need to know almost.